fam, it's Grace. This is Music is Medicine because music is medicine. Today we're getting a dose of Love Yours by J. Cole. J. Cole holds a very special place in my heart and on my wall. This song specifically holds a very special place in my heart. I actually got it tattooed on my bod right here. It says Love Yours. My little sister also has it. Hey, Ella. This song will not wash away all of our problems, but it will remind us to count our blessings even when the chaos of everyday life tries to get in our way. So clearly this song has had a major impact on me, so hopefully I can transfer some of that impact onto you. And more than anything, remind you that there is no such thing as a life that's better than yours. In fact, that's one of the first lines of the song. So let's unpack it. We all share many aspects of life. So think about the circle of life. We have things that we love. We have things that we do not love, things that we hate or just don't like as much, right? And within that circle, there are goals and dreams that we have. There are passions that we want to explore and are exploring. We also have relationships within there. We have vices. We have insecurities. These are things that we all share. That's not unique. But what is unique is your own specific relationships, for example. Your own specific vices, for example. Your vices, you might share some vices with everyone, but you're not going to share the same vices, goals, dreams, relationship styles, all with one person, right? Your life is uniquely yours. We're not going to be trying to change our life or take on the life of someone else, but you can change the aspects of your own personal life, right? These are the cards that you were dealt. The question is, how are you going to play your cards of life? Now, I want to ask you, if you were to take a 24-hour day of yours and only focus on your thoughts, your brain, your focus, where would you find yourself spending the majority of that time or a big chunk of that time within this circle of life? Are you focused mostly on your distractions, your setbacks, your failures, the shame that you have, your insecurities, any combination of that? Or are you spending most of your 24 hours focused on your goals, your dreams? Or do you find that you kind of spend a little time focused everywhere? And what we'll find through this song and through life in general is that if you focus too heavily on one certain area, your life becomes a bit unbalanced. So let's look at some examples of that. Say you are a people pleaser, and so you go about life doing your daily tasks, right? But your focus, whether subconscious or consciously, you're focused on, when I go to the gym, I need to be on. I need to entertain every single person that talks to me. I need to make sure that I greet the person at the front desk with a smile, ask them how their day is. I owe them a 2-minute conversation. In my relationships, I put all of my needs and wants and boundaries to the side to appease this person, right? And these might be things that you do subconsciously. Or as you go about life, are you so kind of on the flip side, laser focused to where you ignore everybody? You're focused strictly on your workout. You're in, you're out, you're efficient, you're done. You go home to focus on your dreams and your goals and the job that you have. You're constantly thinking, how can I make more money? How can I be more efficient with my time? And you're neglecting the relationships that you have. You're maybe even losing relationships that you have. Are you letting your insecurities constantly get in the way? Are you letting your distractions take time and energy away from reaching your goals? Guilty. But what you might find over time is that there are certain aspects of this circle of life that are being neglected if you focus too heavily on one area. Later in the song, J. Cole mentions, what's money without happiness or hard times without the people you love? You might think that money and success is the end goal, and once you have that, you're stress-free, your worries are gone, and that might be the case monetarily, financially, but it's transformed into a new type of stress. Now you're stressed about, how can I keep this money up? Or you're stressed about, oh my gosh, now that I got here, look at all the things that I had to leave behind. I want those things back. Where'd they go? I lost these friendships. I didn't spend enough time maintaining my value. Now I'm lonely, for example. If you've got all the money in the world, but you're not happy, the money doesn't mean much. What is all of this wealth and success when you don't have people to share it with, or you don't have confidence to back it up, or you don't have the balance of all of these elements of life? So the goal here is to focus on what you want, focus on the things that you want, but don't neglect the other areas of life when they need attention. These lows, insecurity, distractions, things that you don't like about your life, these lows cannot be avoided. You might think that you can avoid them, and maybe you can for some time, but they always come back up. In fact, J. Cole recognizes this when he says in one of the next lines, heart beating fast lets you know you're alive. Mad snakes in the grass let you know that you've arrived. When he says that verse, it's like, he's reminding you, heart beating fast, like you're running away from something, you're anxious, you're angry, you're furious. All of these emotions are simply reminding us that you're alive. These are emotions that we all have. We all have these waves of emotions. We all share that. So it's just a matter of being like, yep, this is one of those feelings that I have, that we all have. What do I want to do with it? Instead of letting yourself fall into the insecurities, letting that emotion control you and have you crash out, you are responsible. You are able to respond to your circumstances, to your emotions. You do not let your emotions control you. You actually control your emotions and your actions, believe it or not. So what are you going to do with that? Are you going to, again, allow it to weaken your boundaries, or are you going to allow it to strengthen your boundaries? And something that might bring these emotions up will be, yes, the snakes in the grass that are letting you know that you've arrived, okay? I'm currently in the process of being triggered by a snake in the grass. My eye is twitching. Oh my God. This song is a reminder to me right now in this moment that I've arrived. And so this might be a biblical reference of his, where you arrive in the Garden of Eden, right? There's snakes in the grass that are tempting you. This is simply life of, there are snakes in the grass, right? You are here. You are in the land of choice. And what a beautiful thing that is. Snakes represent slithery sliminess, deceit, but they also represent, do you have the intuition or the discernment to recognize the snake? And then further than that, do you have the discipline, the willpower, the self-control to react and respond to that snake in a way that is actually beneficial to you and results in growth rather than destruction? He says, there's beauty in the struggle, ugliness in the success. Hear my words and listen to my signal of distress. I grew up in the city, and though sometimes we had less, compared to some people down the block, we were blessed. There's always something that you could find that is beautiful in the struggle, right? And that's so dependent on your own life. So let me know if you think that you can't find beauty in something, let me know and I will tell you something beautiful about it. Put it in the comments for real. I really will let you know. In any of these situations, you're breathing. You're here alive breathing. And if you're like, oh, I don't want to be breathing, you have choice. Keep yourself safe. That's priority. You have choice to make a change. Tough love, you know what I mean? And there's ugliness in the success, of course. There are all perspectives available to us at all times. You could always find something that's amazing. You can find the silver lining. You could also find something that's like going horribly wrong in every situation. I won't try to be finding that one though. I'll just be focusing on the positive because that's where I choose to have my focus, okay? At the end there, where he says, compared to some people down the block, we were blessed. Comparison, right? It's the thief of joy. So if you're gonna compare yourself to other people's lives, other people's whatever it may be, success, body, whatever, compare yourself to someone who has it worse than you. There's always that perspective available. Are you choosing to compare yourself to people who you perceive have it better? Or are you going to choose to compare yourself and see how blessed you are in your situation? He says, tell me, Mama, please, will you be drinking all the time? Does all the pain you brought used to linger in your mind? Because pain still lingers on mine. This is where I want to bring up an emotional frequency chart. So we know that everything in life is energy. It's very physical, but these physical things are made up of energy. There is a chart, a spiral, if you will, that shows us where certain emotions lie on the frequency wavelength and what specific frequency they hold. What's on the top might be things that you associate with love. What's on the bottom might be things you associate with hate. And that's such a broad term, so let's break it down a little farther. On the top, we might have things like acceptance. So even if you don't love something, right? The willingness to negotiate and see a new perspective sort of vibe, where even if you don't love something, you're willing to accept it and find peace with it. You're willing to see new perspectives of how this thing might actually be serving you. Versus at the bottom, you might have things like shame and guilt and insecurity, those things that just kind of shrink you and have you play small and hide, or crash out and become destructive. So you as a human, you're vibrating along this chart, along this spiral at all points of life. So I urge you, invite you to pay attention to where you're vibrating right now. Where are you vibrating right now? And then if you're vibrating somewhere where you love, period, if you're vibrating somewhere where you want to change, go ahead, change it real quick, boo. Do what you need to do, change it. If you need help, I got you. This chart is so important because in life we have all things around us, all things coming at us. That circle of life that we mentioned earlier. But what you will be receptive to and able to receive and tap into depends on where you're vibrating on that frequency chart. So for example, if you were to be vibrating near the aligned side, let's just say, opportunities that are fulfilling and exciting to you are going to show up. Versus if you're operating at the other end of the spectrum, opportunities that might be like a snake in the grass will be presented to you. Relationships that might be deceitful and result in other vibrations that match that lower frequency are going to be available to you, versus if you're vibrating at the opposite, the aligned side of the spectrum. Opportunities and relationships that might fuel you with great feelings and love and support will become available to you. So you pay attention, brother, to where you're operating, because it really does affect what you attract in, what you can see around you. Right? On the road to riches, listen, this is what you'll find. The good news is you came a long way. But bad news is you went the wrong way. Think being broke was better. Okay, so this is where J. Cole kind of opens up his own personal experience and connection to the song. And I believe he had an interview that talked about this a little bit more in depth, but he is referencing his road to success and how his focus was always on success in whatever way that was for him. And he got there. He was on the road. He came a long way, but then he says, bad news is you went the wrong way. Think being broke was better. And we can infer that because earlier in the song he was mentioning what is money without happiness, what are hard times without the people you love. So we can infer that this success came with a lot, but maybe in the process he lost a lot, or maybe it came with a lot and it wasn't everything he expected. He pays a lot of respect to people who might be impoverished, saying, you know, he's definitely been there and he knows how that feels, and he's validating their struggles. And I think it's really interesting that as he's saying think being broke was better, in the background he's also saying no such thing as a life that's better than yours. So it's as if those two things are always existing at once. It's that sentiment of the grass is always greener, when in reality, if we just watered our own garden, watered our own grass, the plentiful bounty that would grow would be so undeniable. Where I don't agree with him, though, is when he says, you went the wrong way. Now, this is where I get a little philosophical, because is anything really wrong? Is anything really bad? Yes, but if you dig a little bit deeper, if you're learning lessons from things, if you are able to share your experiences and help others avoid the same turmoil, is that really a wrong experience or a bad experience? And I understand how it might feel, but we're all gonna die. Like, if you zoom out, nothing really matters. In the moment, those feelings are uncomfortable, sure. Those emotions are unpreferred, yeah. So then just use that opportunity to not make the same mistakes again, not wallow in the self-pity, not shame yourself for your decisions. Grow from them, and then it's all good. Teach someone about them, and it's all good, if you so choose to see it that way. What he's referencing here is dangers with expectation. Once you reach this goal, you'll have X, Y, Z. He is shedding light on the dangers with an imbalanced focus, focusing only on success, losing relationships, connection, morals, whatever that might be. He's shining light on the dangers of comparison. He goes on to say, always gonna be a bigger house somewhere, but feel me as long as the people in that motherfucker love you dearly. Always gonna be a whip that's better than the one you got. Always gonna be some clothes that's fresher than the ones you rock. Always gonna be a bitch that's badder out there on the tour, but you ain't ever gonna be happy until you love yours. And man, J. Cole, did you slay with that line? Nothing is ever going to be enough for you until you choose it's enough for you, until you look at your life and you're like, yeah, I'm at peace with this. And that's not to say we're not going to dream big, we're not going to chase our dreams, but it is to say that we're going to shift our internal state of being like, I can't be happy till I do this. I can't attempt to reach this goal until I figure out this part of my life, this insecurity. I can't do anything until this happens. We're not going to let things stop us, hold us back from reaching our goals, and we're also not going to get greedy. And how do we do that? We constantly remind ourselves of the blessings that we have every day. So maybe in the morning, you name 3 things you're grateful for. Maybe in the evening, you name 3 things you're grateful for. Maybe when you're eating, you make sure to think about your blessings. That's just one way that we can practice this and hold ourselves accountable for the emotional regulation of ourselves and of our life. Find what makes you happy in every moment, and every moment will make you happy.